Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal. Thank you for asking. First, I would like to say thank you for joining us on the Struggle to Success podcast. It is truly an honor and a privilege to have you two ladies on the show. I want to also say thank you for the extraordinary work that you do every single day. Thank you.
Well, great.
Thanks
Thank
for
you. And
having
thank
us.
you. Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
So I hate titles, but just for our audience and our listeners out there, Erin, you're the director of advancement. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what that entails?
Sure, yeah. So I ask for people's time, talent, and treasure. So, really looking at how the faith community or individuals or businesses would like to get involved and give back to the Lancaster County Food Hub, whether that's through volunteering or any talents that they have, or by donations. We have a very generous community here in Lancaster County, and in particular with the Food Hub, we've got amazing folks that are very passionate about what we do, and we could not run and operate without the help of the community, especially our volunteers. They are a phenomenal group of folks. Yeah, so I get to talk to people all day about all the things that I love about the Food Hub, and you know, steward in their treasures.
Now, when you say these phenomenal people that you meet every single day, is it are they returning, or is it word of mouth? Who they say something good about the food hub, and then you meet new people every single day? How does that work?
Yeah, I would say it's a both and. So we have folks that are very long time committed volunteers, some that have been here for well over a decade
Wow,
before we moved into this location.
that's
Um,
dedication.
yeah, I
That is
mean, some
dedication.
volunteers, I'm just thinking of our volunteer, Anne, who we were able to recognize at our annual breakfast a few weeks ago. She's been here with us for 12 years. She's
Okay.
83, I
Are
think.
you serious?
Yep, and she is a dedicated volunteer. I mean, she's out there packing and organizing food boxes and helping to like carry heavy boxes of, neighbors' cars as they're picking up food or clothing. And she also maintains her little garden out front and is watering every day and growing things for us that we're able to distribute. I think we harvested like 280 cucumbers this season. And, so some of our volunteers are just committed in that way. Some it's word of mouth. But yeah, it's, we find them
Now,
all over the place.
Christy, you are the operations director. What does your day look like at any given time?
Well,
When does it start?
it's never the same, that's for sure. There's just always lots of things happening. So really just making sure that operations are running smoothly. So whether that's with distribution, with food or clothing, and then we flip kind of in the afternoon to our outreach center and working with our unsheltered individuals. So it's just making sure things run smoothly, making sure we have what we need where we need it at the time we need. So it's and I am blessed too, as Erin said, that I get to work each and every day with our very dedicated volunteers and get to train them and show them new things. And we pilot new projects and we get their feedback and opinions on things, how things are running. So it's a blessing every day, honestly, to be part of the Food Hub team.
I was going to ask this question later in the interview, but I think it's good now. So when we think about the weather, and Lancaster County can get some pretty devastating weather in summer or winter. How does that impact the food hub in both your capacities? Like, is it sometimes you have to say, look, we got to have a meeting now, or what happens when we have that inclement weather and we have like 7 to 8 feet of snow?
Well,
Yes, it happens.
yes, it absolutely does happen. I mean, there are going to be times when we have some, especially the snow, right? The snow and the ice that can really impact our operations. And there are times when we do have to close our doors because it's treacherous for people to get here, both staff, volunteers, as well as our neighbors. Um, so that certainly has an impact on operation. Now, I'm going to knock on wood as I say this, but we've been very fortunate with these last few winters have been pretty mild, where we've been able to keep our doors open or maybe open later or something like that. And the same can happen, in during like this time of year too, where it's hurricane season and lots of rain. But we will still have operations, and our volunteers, we will all wear raincoats, and we will get out there to make sure that our neighbors, have some of those basic needs that they have. So again, it happens all year long, and we just have to prepare and plan for it as best as we possibly can.
Now, you both you ladies have 40 plus years of experience and acclimates saying that you're lifelong learners. Erin, for instance, you work for the Lancaster School District, and Christi, you have background in business and health. How does that collabo push the food hub forward? Because I'm sitting here and I was speaking with Nat, and I'm like, this is like the fantastic of two. Like you got so much energy coming from both sides. How do you use that to keep the food hub moving forward?
Yeah. I mean, I think we all have different gifts and talents that we're bringing to the table. And Christi has significant experience and background with managing volunteers in very complex organizations. And,
Mhm.
and I don't know how many volunteers you had dealt with in the past, but quite
Right.
quite a few. And so really looking at all of the different sectors of our organization. And my previous job, I was very connected to the community. So it just, I think we're both bringing different unique skill sets to the table, but we're all filling gaps. Nonprofit work is hard, but I think everybody here, all across, I mean, from our staff, our board members, our volunteers, everybody's very mission aligned and committed to serving people with dignity in the best way possible.
Now, was it for either one of you? Was it a huge shift from coming from that experience to dealing in the food industry? Or what was that like? Because and I say that because when I go to the market, I'm like, and I like shopping at various markets and stuff like that when I can, when I have the funds, when I have the financial means to do it. But I'm always looking at the produce. I'm looking at the people who's packing the produce, who's bringing it out. I'm thinking about now as I get older and I have my children, how much time is it going to take me to get to the store? So what is that like for you, Christy, when you think about all the dynamics that go along with that?
Well, again, as Erin mentioned, I think we're all bringing a different lens
Hmm.
to the everything that's happening to the food hub. So everybody brings their different experience and expertise to be able to serve our neighbors, and we're just always looking for innovative ways to try to help with that. You mentioned produce specifically. Produce
Hmm.
is just one of those things that are great to be able to provide to our neighbors because we know they're expensive, right? I mean,
Right, right.
it is. So we want to make sure that when we're working with our food recovery partners and with our grants and things, that we're providing the best selections that we can to our neighbors because, again, that's not something that everybody can always shop for because of price points and availability, and things like that. So we're really very proud to be able to offer those types of things. And our volunteers, again, go back to the volunteers, they're working really, staff and volunteers working really hard to make sure that we've got that best available produce available to our folks.
I went into the store and just to buy a case of eggs, a carton of eggs. I, I'm I just had to think for a minute, like, do I really need this right now? I had to make a choice. Do I get the milk or do I have to get the eggs? You know, I don't need the eggs. The kids need the eggs. So with that frame of mind, what type of individuals? And I know in the questionnaire that you say you're seeing 3 to 4 unsheltered families come in every single time. What do you think is going through their mind, and how do you combat that to help them?
Well, I mean, it's never easy to ask for help, right? Nobody wants to be
Yes.
judged. But we really pride ourselves here in the Food Hub of meeting people where they're at and serving people with dignity, welcoming everyone. And I mean, everybody's very close. Like you just need one catastrophic incident, and then you're struggling to make ends meet. And it's not just about food, right? I mean, inflation, wages, housing, healthcare, all of these things are happening. And then it's just sort of compounding challenges. And so we are finding that in 2023, when benefits ended through COVID, our
Mhm.
numbers doubled and they've not come down. I mean, we're
Right,
serving
right,
73,000 people a year. We would
right.
love to be able
That
to
those
go out of
numbers
business.
are astronomical. I'm sorry, but I was going
Yeah,
to mention that 73,000 families a year. That
yeah.
is extraordinary work.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
we, yeah, we are very thankful that we have such, again, a generous community of donors and volunteers and being able to source food and clothing. I mean, we get so much clothing that's donated and we're able to turn that around so our neighbors can like shop
Hmm.
for free, but with a really dignified experience and get what they need when they need it. But I mean, people from all walks of life are coming in here, and we just want to tell them like, hello, it's okay, we're here to help you, and help you in that journey and whatever that looks like.
You just said 2 words I want to come back to. You said in the questionnaire, you said working families, and you said dignified.
Hmm.
Can you both expound on what is a working family and that dignity?
Yeah,
What
So,
is that?
I mean,
go
working
ahead.
families are just that. They are working. It's not that they're being at home all day and not they're out there working sometimes a couple of jobs, to provide for their families. And then on top of that, they've got to figure out how they get their kids into daycare
Mm.
while working, and
Hmm.
that's not cheap either.
Hmm.
Again, I think we kind of refer to and Erin can back me up on this, but what the United Way has coined the ALICE families, so the asset limited income
Okay.
constrained employed.
Okay.
So they're working really hard, but they've got some significant expenses. With health, as Erin mentioned, healthcare, the cost of everything, the cost of just
Mhm.
rent, the cost of living, everything, and the wage is not keeping up with that. Um, we see a lot of those families that are just struggling to get by, but working hard to be able to do that. And then that dignity factor goes into, again, we're here to help our neighbors. So we want to create an experience where no one has to be ashamed, to come in for so those basic things, the food and the clothing. And then we have it so that we're just not giving them what we think is appropriate. They have
Mhm.
choice. They have choice in produce. They have choice in bread. They have choice in the nice things that are nice to have, the desserts, things like that. I mean, we'll curate an order for them with the eggs that you've talking about, the
Okay.
milk, those types of things. But we have choice options available to them, so they can pick and choose whatever meets their family needs, because not everybody eats the
Right.
same thing. So
Right.
we want to
Right.
make that
And that's
option
that's
available to
great.
our families.
That's
Yeah,
great.
of the 55,000 people that we serve just in food this past year, 60% of them are in that ALICE category. So they're not eligible for SNAP
Right.
benefits,
Right.
and they're that asset limited population.
You know, I believe when I created Struggle to Success, I really thought long and hard on my timeline through life and the moments of struggle and how I captivated them to still be success. It was just a frame of mind because I believe life is for struggle, and that success can be in that struggle. So to be absolutely clear, I'm in law enforcement as well as I do the podcast. And over a year ago, I suffered a catastrophic incident, required 2 surgeries. And you talk about finances, you talk about dignity, you talk about working family. Now, I go back dating myself here. When I was a kid, I used to go with my mother to receive assistance with the big box of cheese. And here I am today, what I had to do because they didn't ask, my children didn't ask for that to happen to me. So for me and other families in Lancaster County to need this assistance and have that dignity, it goes beyond thank you for what you ladies do and the volunteers and the partners that we're going to talk about, because your impact is heartfelt felt. It truly is. And again, like, I can't say thank you enough, because it's tireless work, and this is something that you're not searching for acclimates, you're not searching for recognition. It's the work that you do. I would like to say it's the servitude leadership, and to do it every single day. It takes a resilience. It takes more than some people have. You speak about the humanitarian act. Can you expound on that? What does that mean? You mentioned it in the questionnaire. I think it was I had asked the question about the social services, and then one of you mentioned the humanitarian
Oh, yeah, the philosophy of work
philosophy.
ethics.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've always taken the approach of, if I'm over resourced
Mhm.
in different areas, but systems are really hard for me to navigate, what is
Mhm.
that like for other people? Whether it's a language barrier,
Yes.
whether it's transportation, whether it's, you're having to go to multiple social service organizations and like just, and you have a job that doesn't allow you the freedom to be able to do that, or being on hold for hours and hours and hours. And, so I've just always taken the approach of, if I'm struggling to navigate certain systems, what is this like for other people? And how can we just remove barriers for folks? And again, just coming back to a relational approach, meeting people where they're at, serving people with dignity, and treating people like people, meeting them
You
where they're
know,
at.
another unique thing that I noticed, that Erin, you grew up in Ephrata,
Yeah.
correct?
Yep.
Right? Christy, you grew up in York. So I think about farmland, I think about country, and York City, where I policed at one point in time. Again, here's that collabo effect. When you two ladies got together, what type of conversation did you have on saying, this is what I've experienced here, or this is what I've seen here, this is what we can do here? What give me a tentative meaning on how does the brains interact with that type of experience and
Yeah.
um
I mean,
upbringing?
I think it comes back to, we're all kind of approaching things with our own lens, right? And
Right.
while I mean, I moved to Alfredo when I was 10.
Hmm.
I grew up in very, very rural northern Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
So when we moved to Alfredo, we are like, this is the big city. Like this is, or I mean, we had no concept. Like there was
Right.
sidewalks, so it seemed like the big city,
Right.
compared to where I came from. But yeah, I think again, it just comes back to like our lived experiences and how that lens shapes us and how we're serving. I mean, everybody has experienced bad customer service at some point, right? We all know what that
Right.
looks like. And we want to provide excellent customer service as we're
Okay.
engaging with whether it's donors or volunteers or partners, our neighbors, whether it's our unhoused neighbors. We want to I keep coming back to just how we serve people with dignity and how we treat one another. And that I think is just a driving force across our organization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's, as Erin mentioned, it's our systems are so very complex, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it's confusing sometimes for us, let alone if you're not able to handle the complexities of everything and the confusion sometimes. So that's the one thing we want to try to do here is make it as simple as we can. We'll follow the guidelines, the requirements that are a part of our grants and things like that, but we want to make sure that we take a lot of those barriers out so that people can feel comfortable coming here and getting the help that they need in order to help with their families and help their families thrive. So
So let's talk about that for a second. When you speak about the system and the complexity of it, you mentioned competition, right? And you mentioned collaboration. What parts of the system are complex? Like when it comes, is it the funding part? Is it because I feel like what I feel like? I feel like when I read your information, I feel like you ladies literally had to roll up your sleeves, like let's go, let's get down, let's go.
yeah.
Is it like that, or is it what is it like? I mean, because you and I say this, I think it's important for our listeners and our viewers to understand this to some extent because what we see at the front door are smiles and this already in place system of bringing people in, great customer service, um, greeting people with a smile, and giving them their dignity, helping them to their vehicle, asking. But behind the scenes, what piece of that complexity you say, like we got to get down with this?
Yeah. So with we, it's hard to procure food. We are very
Right.
fortunate that we have partnerships like Central PA Food Bank, and
Mm-hmm.
then we have food recovery trucks with trucks that go out to places like Costco and Whole Foods and Wegmans and Giant and Target every day to kind of fill that gap. And then we have different community organizations that will bring in um, fresh produce, or
Mm-hmm.
the scouting troops will do food drives, or congregations will do collections for us. So but because, as I said, in 2023 our numbers doubled, and
Mm-hmm.
that they have not decreased. It just
Mm-hmm.
keeps rising. We have to continue to be creative in how we source food. For the first time this year, in 2025, we've had to purchase food, which
Mm-hmm.
can get very costly, but we want our neighbors to get a reliable procured food order that they know what to get. And it's not just like random odds and ends, right? But like, how do we put eggs and milk and fresh produce and lean proteins and shelf stable items and bread and, cereal and those things that so folks can rely on that. And so we have to get really creative and share resources. Sometimes we get large orders of things and we can't turn it around as quickly, and so we might share it with another organization or vice versa. There was an organization that had a surplus of something. They didn't use it all, so they gave it to us, and we were able to turn it around in the
Wow,
community.
that
So
is partnership. That
that
is
it
definitely
is.
partnership.
I think dealing with poverty is complex, and
Mm-hmm.
no organization can do it by themselves, and so we have to lean as a community on one another to serve our neighbors and leverage resources and collaborate and you know share.
Yeah, I think collaboration and partnership is just so critical, just because of all the logistics involved. So when I say the complex nature of some
Right.
things, it's we're trying to
Right.
figure out how to um, do everything within the scope of our very small but mighty team, too. So I think that's something that is worthy to talk about too, just because there's not many of us, but we're doing a lot of work along with our volunteers, doing a lot of work to serve our and help our neighbors.
You say that, and it makes me think. I want to ask the question because I couldn't think of two brilliant people to ask this other question. Ask this question too. Are we running out of food? or are we running out of the resilience to help people to provide food for other people?
I mean, I think there's food. There's a lot of waste that does happen. So I don't
I
think it's
believe that
that.
too. I
Yeah,
do.
I think it's there.
Yeah.
I think it's how people access it because there's barriers, whether it's transportation, whether it's navigating systems to get there, or, again, like meeting the hours of when the places are open, or they're in a different part of the county, and so it might be harder. There may not be as many resources. So I think that's part of it, but also the not having increased wages and then the increasing costs of everything else
Right, right,
is
right.
is I think it's just making it really complex. And then if you are able to get SNAP benefits, like it's incredibly challenging to enroll in the system. And Christi could talk about we're doing a SNAP blitz to help folks with that.
Okay.
I mean that's going to be happening, but it's really hard to access those services that you need when you need them. And then if you're limited by, oh, well, now you make an extra 50 cents an hour. And so now you can't get anything. Well, 50 cents an hour doesn't take you that far if you're losing your childcare subsidy or, whatever it is. So it's a juggle. It is a juggle.
And you think about, okay, well, how can I say this? There's always one parent at home now, most times because of childcare. Because to put both parents in the working force, then you're paying one parent's salary is going to complete your childcare. So it's better for one parent in some instances to stay home,
Mm-hmm.
but still that working factor is void. And then again, now we're scrambling and say, okay, well, how are we going to have these ends meet? And I got to tell you another personal story. So I had posted, when I came down to the food hub, the outside, and I just scanned everybody, and I posted it on my Facebook S2S podcast, and I got mixed views. So I wanted to ask you ladies about this. Some of the responses that I got were very positive. And this relates to why I asked that question, are we running out of the resilience to help other people? But others was like, they're just looking for handouts. And I was taken aback because I'm like, and there was another comment, why are people posting this? I believe that this work should be getting promoted on social media. I believe that the amount, to some degree, of the people that are involved in this work should be getting promoted on social media to say that it's here. But how do we change the mindset of those negative ones? So that's what I want to ask. How do we do that?
Come and visit us.
Yeah.
Hey, I like that. Everyone heard that. Come down
Be
to the
here,
food
Be
hub in
here.
yes.
Lancaster
We'll
City.
give you a tour. We're a
Okay.
27,000 square foot facility, and serving 73,000 people a year. People aren't here just for fun,
Right.
like no,
Right.
I mean, does some of that? Yeah, yeah. I mean, that happens, but like, I think the percentage of that is so
It's very
small.
small.
It's very, very small, and the amount of folks that come here that are just so thankful for the help, and grateful, and knowing that they have a space that they can rely on. I mean, yeah. If people have doubts, call me.
Yeah,
We'll give you a tour. You can see it in action. You can talk to people yourself.
yeah.
And
I
I
mean,
think that's
I
part
think
of
we're
it.
going to do that.
there's
I'm going to come. We're going to schedule a tour,
Yeah.
and we're going to put everything together out there so people can see the
Yeah.
work that you ladies and your volunteers do.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot that happens here. And I mean, I can see from, my office window, our doors open at 9:30. There is a line across the parking lot already. And I mean,
Okay.
Yeah,
people
Now
are
you
As
said
Erin
coming.
said, people don't necessarily want to be here. I mean, because those skeptics, are mind-boggling sometimes, right? Because again, it takes a village
Mm.
to do everything.
Ah, I
We need
love
to help
that.
each other. We
I
need to
love
help each
Yeah.
that. I
other.
love
We're
that.
all
Not just
here
one
to
person.
support each other.
Exactly.
Yes. Yep.
I love it. You ladies have 25 to 30 volunteers at any given time. You've already said that some of these volunteers have been coming for decades. How do you encourage? How does the volunteer process work if someone wanted to be a volunteer?
Yeah, so you can go to our website. We have some great information on volunteering. You do need some clearances. There's an application
What
process, and
clearances would you need?
yeah. So you need your child abuse clearance and your state criminal, Pennsylvania criminal one. And there's some online training that's doesn't take long. And we set up a tour so you can see what it looks like. So people can volunteer in different areas. We have our clothing area, which we really could use some extra help in right now,
Okay.
because we get so much clothing donated, men's, women's, children's, babies, shoes, like all the things. And we have to be able to process it and turn it over and sort it and organize it and box it or put it out on the racks. And so that just requires a significant number of man hours to be able to do that. Um, and then we have our intake. So those are the volunteers that are really just checking people in, verifying, their
Nice.
household
Yeah.
members, all of that. And then we have the food distribution side, which is everything from packing what we call dry bags, so those shelf stable items, sorting produce and like taking larger quantities and bagging them into smaller quantities, and just being runners and helping take stuff to people's vehicles or their carts and stuff. So there's a lot of different ways that folks can get involved depending on their interest area, or their comfort area. And yeah, we have volunteers that come several times a week, some that come once a month, some that come in between.
So
So
what's the turnaround time if and I'm sure they can call you ladies or get information online for the clearances and things of that. But what's the turnaround time for clearances for them to say, okay, well
yeah,
look, I have it, and then we're good to go.
The
yeah,
clearances
Typically,
are, yeah,
typically.
the clearances are, everything can be done online.
Okay.
So pretty much the state police clearance is almost instantaneous,
mhm.
and
Okay.
the child abuse clearance can take 1 or 2 days.
Okay.
It's not a long process at all.
Okay.
And
So
your clearances
That's
are good for 5 years.
5 years,
So
yeah.
if
okay.
you
I was
have
about to
them
say, yep.
from another
Yeah.
organization or whatever,
Yeah.
we just need a copy of it, and that's
All
fine.
right.
So, I mean, we can turn it around fairly quickly, to get folks that are interested and ready. Yeah.
Have you ladies ever had, again, like we can say we're living in trying times, and I probably would have said that 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Is this the heat of the moment? But has there ever been a security issue? Like you felt like there might be, like we look at other states and we see how things happen and escalate quickly, or has the community of Lancaster been very reliable and patient and waiting for assistance from your help?
So I think most of the time our neighbors are very cordial and respectful, like, and we're being the same way, of course. I mean, there
Hmm.
are times when emotions get a little high just because of the nature of what someone's going through. So we're just prepared for that,
Okay.
um, to make sure that to keep everybody safe. There's a lot of, we'll do some trauma-informed training, for our staff, and we need to roll that out to volunteers just to make sure that, there's just a
Hmm.
lot of things impacting people. And how we respond is part of how they respond as well. So we just need to make sure that, again, we're providing that
Covering.
good
Yeah.
service, yes, and prepared in the event something does happen, but making sure that we're providing that compassionate,
That's
care and
great.
support
That's
to
great. And
everybody.
and, and that's that business and education and social services all mixed together, and it makes a phenomenal team and work effort. Now you mentioned, Erin, you mentioned partnership. Can you speak about some of your partners and how they contribute to the work effort at Food Hub?
Sure, yeah. So, on our we provide outreach services for our
Mhm.
unhoused neighbors, in the afternoons, and so our unsheltered neighbors, are coming with
Really quick, what's an unsheltered neighbor?
the homeless population.
Okay.
So, and they might be in a crisis of some kind. They could be struggling with addiction. They could have other just health limitations. There's just a lot, especially, the longer you've been living out on the street, the more
Right.
complex your needs
Right.
become. So we cannot do this work alone. This is really complicated work. And so we're very fortunate to partner with organizations like the LEMSA, Lancaster EMS. They have a shower truck called Refresh. And so
Okay.
twice a week, the
Oh,
Refresh truck
wow.
is parked on
They
our
actually
on
come down?
they come down, and so unsheltered neighbors can, get cleaned up. They can get, they can talk to the EMTs if they need some medical care.
Okay.
We also have a great partnership. LGH Penn Medicine has a
Really
street
quick, do they have
outreach.
set days or do they come various days?
It's
I think
usually
our audience will want
Tuesdays.
to know that.
Yeah, usually Tuesday and Thursday
The
afternoons.
Tuesdays and Thursdays is called the shower truck.
It's called
Yeah,
Refresh.
refresh.
Refresh, I'm
And
sorry. Refresh.
but yeah, it's a shower truck. And so there's 2 showers and then like a medical bay. Um,
We are phenomenal people. We're doing that. I would
yeah.
never even thought of
And they're
that. I would,
traveling. I mean, that truck goes all over the county.
okay.
Like it's a wonderful service that LEMSA is providing. And then their EMTs are like driving this truck around and then, helping people in whatever capacity they might need from like, med checks or wound issues or something. And then Penn Medicine LGH has a street outreach medical program. So there's a doctor and some nurse practitioners, and they're out in the community, again, across the county, meeting people where they're at. So they're providing that medical care on benches and in, the libraries, like wherever people are that are unhoused. I think they said last year they served 500 people across the county. So we have a great partnership with them. Blueprints, which does addiction recovery. And then our team works really closely with other just case managers and outreach workers in the social service for the unhoused homeless population. And so there's a lot of just collaboration, sharing resources. Just yeah, we could not, that work is so complex. And then
So
we
you
have
have,
our other partnerships with like our faith community and our congregations.
okay.
They either donate their time and talent and treasure. They'll do, collection drives for clothing or food for us. They're, sponsoring us as from like a fiscal perspective. And then we have businesses that we work with that come in and volunteer. Again, they do drives, they donate, they sponsor things.
Phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
We could not do this. And then there's the food recovery side, which
It's
is
phenomenal. I mean, you just
yeah,
think about, and you mentioned, and I was speaking to Nat about this. We didn't know you had a clothing side. I mean, you just think
yeah,
food hub, and then you have
yeah,
a clothing side. You have social services. You have faith. You have all these components coming together in one location. So again, this is the tireless work that I'm speaking about, and this is why I feel so passionate about the work that we're doing and we continue to do because I just love meet extraordinary people like you ladies because it takes an island. It takes more than one people to do this type of work and have this collaboration. You mentioned on the questionnaire, I said, well, what is the one message to the audience? And you mentioned something of the effect of food insecurities and community support. How would you like to get that across to our audience and
yeah.
listeners?
I think that, we're a safety net
Yeah.
organization to help meet basic needs. And we try to do this in a very nurturing and welcoming environment. So if you are in need of clothing or food, we can help you with that. If you would like to donate food or clothing, we can help
Okay.
with
We can help
that.
with that. We can help with that.
If you're experiencing homelessness and you're ready to like work on your plan, whatever that plan is for you, we can help you make those steps. We're not here to say, well, you have to do X, Y, Z, but like what do individuals want and how can we help you get to your next step, whatever that may be. So I think, we're an old organization. Our name is new, the Food Hub, but we were the Council of Churches for over 75
Okay.
years.
Okay.
And so the faith community really leaned into how can we give back? And clothing was the first
Okay.
program that they did, not food. And then food came shortly thereafter. But so yeah, we're just here to be a resource for the community, either for folks that need it or to be a broker for those goods and how can we distribute them to the community. Yeah.
When you
And
think
that's
of Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Yeah.
you're hands down, you're doing all of it. You're doing all of it. I mean, the clothing, the shelter, the food, the communication.
If
One
I
thing
mean,
that
you
we
can't.
have,
I'm
good,
sorry, I was going to say, unless you meet those very basic needs, you're never going to progress, right? So
right?
that's why
Exactly.
we want to help people get those basic human needs met. Absolutely.
You say that, and I think that that's what's I believe that's what separates Lancaster County Food Hub, especially from other areas of the country, because you're meeting those needs. And again, our a lot of our viewers and our listeners don't see what's going on behind the scenes, but the demand to meet those needs are so high. But the fact that you're meeting them, it you have the faith of the community, you have the trust of the community, and I just want to commend you for your work. One thing that we like to do on Struggle to Success podcast is we want to ask our previous guest a question for the next guest. So one of the questions that we were asked to ask our next guest was, what do you want to leave behind?
Hmm.
I I always say that like I hope that I'm worked out of this job so, because that means all the community needs have been met, right? So that means no everyone has their basic human needs, and they can progress to the next to whatever the next journey is for them, because that would make me feel good that these very basic needs are met and there's not that struggle for things.
Yeah, I would agree that. I think it would be great if we weren't needed. If our numbers could go down, that would be a gift.
I
But I
don't think
also
that's going to
believe
happen. I know it's
I don't think so
I know.
either. We're kind of preparing for
yeah,
more.
right,
Um, I think meeting people where they're at is great, but you also don't want to leave them where they're at. And so, how can we help steward people to their next step? And I say whether they're needing help or they want to give help, right? Because maybe also we're not the best place for people to volunteer at
right.
either. Like that's okay. And so how can we just educate the community? How can we connect folks to more resources? How can we, get people to their next step, whatever that is, and just lean into one another in the best way.
So again, how could Struggle to Success and other social media platforms and our listeners and our viewers help the extraordinary work that Food Hub does every single day? How could we help?
Yeah. I think just telling the stories of what is happening in the community. I think there are a lot of misconceptions, right? As you said when you were here before, like, oh, they're just, taking advantage of the system or whatever. And if you're really talking to people that are vulnerable or people that are asking for help, like that's not the case. And I think it's just we've become so divided as a country and as a community. And I think really just telling the stories that like we're all just people, we're all human, and everybody needs help at different times in their lives, and that's
Right.
okay. Like there's nobody that has never not needed help from somebody. And yeah, and just how we can be good stewards and brokers of that to help people to their next step.
I think also too is that we continue to create the platform so people can ask for help.
Hmm.
Because again, that goes right back to what you ladies were saying earlier, is that dignity. Because if I feel withheld to ask for that help, I'm going to stay where I'm at. And this is what I tell my children: there's two types of people who won't advance. the shy person and the one who doesn't ask questions.
Mhm.
You got to ask for help. Granted, sometimes not going to be the best help that you want sometimes, but still, you have to get in that behavior because that habits and systems. I heard atomic habits. And I love the part where he said that, if you create these good habits, it develops into these systems that get you to that next level. And you ladies have a beautiful system. You have a great system. So what would be a question for our next guest that you ladies, well, they're in for it because I have to have one from both of you, each of you. So yeah,
Oh,
so what would be a question that they could ask, they should answer?
gosh.
I think, like, where do you find joy? Because sometimes it's hard to forget, like, because life can be hard, right? But you have to lean
Powerful. That's right.
into, finding joy and reminding yourself where that is. Yeah. So where do you find joy?
If you look on my Facebook, I was in the East Pete's fair with the bumper cars with the kids. That was my joy. That was
My toddler told me this morning, "Mommy, your face is beautiful." And I was like, "Oh," this was after she like yelled at me for something. I don't know what. But I was like, "Oh, thanks. Like that was so nice." So you gotta do, parenting toddlers is hard. So you gotta
yeah.
take what you
Oh
can.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What do you think, Christy? What do you think?
I guess maybe, and it's something that I try to do once a day, so maybe I could pass it along as what can I do? Like talk about finding joy, but what can I do to make somebody smile, to make somebody feel good? Like one thing a day. If I've done that, then I've been successful. So maybe just passing that along to what's one thing that someone can do to pass along joy, to help somebody at least one time, you know. Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's me just allowing grace for somebody in traffic, because it's
Okay. Oh
frustrating
yeah.
sometimes. This
Oh
city can be
yeah.
very frustrating, getting around. So it's just okay. I'm just gonna let them go in front of me because it's just okay. It's
Right.
all okay, So it's just sometimes it's just those little things that help other people and help us feel at peace too.
Christi Brown, Operations Director, and Erin Conahan, Director of Advancement from the Food Hub. I would like to say thank you so much for coming on Struggle to Success podcast. And again, we're definitely going to connect. We're going to reach out. We're going to do everything we can on our end to keep pushing the Food Hub and on behalf of Lancaster and beyond, because if I believe if you faith wise, if you save one person, you save all of creation. Vice versus the opposite. So you ladies are saving our community and helping families, extended families. So I want to say thank you so much.
So,
Thank you.
thank
Thanks
you.
so much for having us and
And
helping us share
thanks.
our
Yep.
story.
And thank you for all that you do too
Yeah.
to
All
get
right,
the messages out there.
I can do
Appreciate that.
more.